There's no end in sight to attacks on Somalia by militants. Authorities say the death toll from Saturday's twin attack in the southwestern town of Baidoa has risen to at least 20. An official at the Baidoa City Hospital said the facility had received 20 bodies and treated 40 other people for various injuries. On Saturday evening, 2 suspected suicide bombers walked into a restaurant and a coffee shop frequented by government troops and detonated their vests. Al-Qaeda-affiliated Al-Shabaab militants have claimed responsibility for the attacks. Meanwhile, a man convicted of involvement in the deadliest bomb attack in Somalia's history has been executed on the first anniversary of the blast. Nearly 600 people were killed when a truck filled with explosives was detonated at one of the busiest intersections in the city. CGTN's Abdulaziz Billo has been following events there and sent us this report from Mogadishu.
This memorial monument is a reminder of one of the country's worst terror attacks. It's exactly 1 year since a truck bomb killed 600 people at this busy junction. And on Sunday, hundreds turned out to mark the first anniversary of the bombing. These women couldn't hide their tears. 1 year later, the horrors of that attack still haunts them.
After the blast, I knew that my son didn't survive. It didn't cross my mind that he could survive a blast of that magnitude. I stood at the Banadir junction in tears and heartbroken. The news of his death was confirmed to me 10 days later.
I had a small tea shop near the Afgoye bus station. My son died in that blast. He is all I had and depended on him. He came to assist me that afternoon so that I could go to the market for shopping, but that was the last time I saw him.
A firing squad executed this man earlier in the day. Hassan Aden Isaac, one of the several men arrested for coordinating the biggest attack to rock Somalia in its modern-day history. The attendees wore red and white ribbons, calling for peace and an end to years of bloodshed.
It is uncomfortable that innocent people, mostly women, died on that day. They didn't do any harm. They were out to earn a living for their children. We condemn that attack and condole with the victims of the heinous attack.
There's been no claim of responsibility for the attack yet, but the government has accused Al-Shabaab of targeting civilians. On the eve of the bombing, the group carried out a double suicide attack in Baidoa, southwest of Mogadishu, killing 18 people and wounding 50 others. Meanwhile, security remains tight in the capital. Government forces have increased surveillance at some of the city's major entry points to thwart potential terror attacks. The government has also vowed to offer free education to all the children who lost their parents in the bombing.
I hereby notify the Ministry of Education to facilitate the implementation of free education to all the children who lost their families in the terrorist attack. We must offer them equal learning opportunities like other children.
14th October will forever remain a dark day in Somalia's history, and the memorial monument behind me is a constant reminder that it's civilians who continue to bear the brunt of the country's devastating conflict. Meanwhile, the public are demanding answers and are calling for better security and an end to years of bloodshed. Abdulaziz Billo, CGTN, Mogadishu, Somalia.
Well, Abdulaziz Billo is in Mogadishu for us and joins us live. Abdulaziz, Saturday's attack coincided with preparations to mark the anniversary of the deadliest attack in the country. What does this say about Somalia's fight against militants?
Well, Karen, the attack by Al-Shabaab in Baidoa is yet but another reminder again that that group remains a major threat to peace and stability here in Somalia. And experts here are of the view that Al-Shabaab carried out that double suicide mission just to create distraction so that the global attention will not be focused on Mogadishu and the commemoration of the first anniversary of one of the worst terrorist attacks to rock Somalia in its modern day history. So that on the other end, experts are saying that Al-Shabaab remains a lethal threat to peace and stability and to the Somali government. And still in Baidoa, earlier today in the morning, Al-Shabaab militants launched a brazen attack on an army base in an area known as Dainunai. That's 20 kilometers north of the town of Baidoa, attacking government forces. So we are still getting more reports of that attack. But then again, it highlights that Al-Shabaab is not just a threat to civilians, but also a threat to government forces in relation to that attack. But when it comes to the fight against Al-Shabaab, the Somali government is of the view that it's doing a lot to counter violent extremism here in Somalia and to thwart Al-Shabaab attacks. But it's of the view that it cannot be able to control the entire nation and prevent Al-Shabaab activities because of the fact that most of its troops are not properly trained and not properly equipped. So it's calling for an end to an arms embargo here in Somalia so that its forces can be able to fight Al-Shabaab head-on, and rather than wait to be attacked, they want to take the fight to the militants' doorstep. So they are saying that it's unacceptable that they will have the same weapons as the militants and be expected to win. So they're calling for an immediate end to that sanctions that were imposed by the UN Security Council and allow its forces to be strengthened and to fight the Al-Shabaab head-on.
And Abdulaziz, reports that a man involved in the deadliest bomb attack in Somalia's history has been executed. What's been reaction to that?
Well, the individual in question was executed on the eve, or not on the eve, rather, in the early hours of Sunday morning, that is to coincide with the first anniversary of the worst disaster to rock Somalia and to rock Mogadishu, and one of the deadliest disasters, rather, in the continent. So many here in the city that we spoke to are saying that that was the best response that the government could offer exactly on that day, because there would have been a backlash if that execution wouldn't have happened, because a military court already ruled that Hassan Aden Isaac was involved in that attack, and he facilitated the truck that went all the way to KM5 junction, detonated, killing more than 600 people. So that the experts here are saying, and the civilians also agree, that that was the best response from the government. But there's also one theory that many people here in Mogadishu are having, is any individual who might have been linked to that attack, either by facilitating or by coordinating with the militants and be able for that truck to reach there, should not see the light of the day, should not be sentenced to life in prison, but they should all face the firing squad. And
finally, what did the government have to say about the anniversary of the attack on Sunday?
Well, the Somali president visited the town of Marka. This is 90 kilometers south of Mogadishu, to encourage Somali forces who are on the battlefront in the fight against Al-Shabaab. There is a specific group of unit of the army that has been named 14th October. They are stationed in the Marka area. This is a coastal city that was once a haven for Al-Shabaab before they were dislodged in 2013. So the president was there to encourage the forces in that area to keep up the fight and be able to secure Mogadishu from the lower Shabelle region. This is one area that has proved very challenging for AMISOM and Somali government to secure it, so that it can be able to prevent further attacks from happening here in Mogadishu. Also in the capital, there was a massive turnout here at an event that was taking place exactly at where the blast went off. The Prime Minister of Somalia, Hassan Ali Khaire, was in attendance, and also the Mayor of Mogadishu, as well as many government ministers. They all came there to say that enough is enough, and it's time to put an end to Al-Shabaab's continuous attacks on civilians. And they all wore red and white ribbons, the red ribbon indicating that this is the blood of innocent people that are continuing to be spilled, and white was for calling for peace. So the Prime Minister insisted that his government will offer free education to all the children who are orphaned from that attack, primary education, secondary education, also university. And also they pledged to enforce security here in Mogadishu, and they called on the public especially to assist Somali security forces in thwarting Al-Shabaab attacks.
Okay, thank you for that update. That was CGTN's Abdulaziz Bilo there in Mogadishu joining us live.